the vast majority of business interruption policies, there are some exceptions, but the vast majority are designed to cover businesses for risks that happen to their property, physical risks like fire or flooding. And those policies pay out typically just under £8 billion a year, covering for those sorts of typical everyday risks that business faces. They were not designed to cover and haven't been priced to cover for pandemics, not just in the UK, but in all the Western markets. And so there has been a degree of understandable unhappiness from some policyholders that they are not covered. And as you say, there is now a process to take this to the courts, which will hopefully provide, we hope, a reasonably speedy way to resolve some of these disputes.
But it's not a very satisfactory way to resolve this, is it? Surely it raises all sorts of ongoing issues then about the confidence, Huw, that those policyholders can have in the way the policies are written up. And I would ask you in particular to note the Hiscox case here, where clearly there was some reference in the wording to a notifiable disease shutting a business.
Well, I'm not going to comment on any one specific insurer. I speak for the whole industry, not any one particular insurer. But I would accept your central point that this isn't a great position to be in. What business wants to have unhappy customers and for a dispute about what is covered or not covered? So I think where I disagree with you is I think that the court process of going to the courts offers a relatively speedy way of trying to get some of these disputes sorted, much better than it taking years to rumble through a normal court process that isn't fast-tracked, or to go through the Financial Ombudsman Service. So I hope that's a way of trying to settle out some of these understandable disputes. But overall, our position has always been, as an industry, we have never claimed that we cover businesses against pandemics. We haven't had one in the UK for over 100 years. It would be pretty extraordinary if it was a normal part of everyday cover, and it would be very expensive for businesses if it was included as an average routine thing that you include in your policy.
Huw, what's your attitude over at the ABI on government support for the industry? There are a lot of industries that, as we know at the moment, have their hand out. There are the implications for some of these insurers to go to the wall if they are forced to make these payouts. Would you support perhaps some government action at this stage to make sure that all policyholders can ultimately be compensated and that this doesn't lead to defaults in the industry?
Well, I think what the government has done in the UK, which is sensible and welcome, is to make clear that it has no interest in passing legislation to retrospectively amend contracts to include things that weren't included at the point of sale. That has provided certainty, I think, both to the markets and to the insurance sector. In terms of what happens going forward, I think the route through the courts is the best route. This is ultimately a dispute about contract wording. Insurance is a contract-based business, and ultimately where there are disagreements that cannot be resolved between the insurer and the policyholder, the best route is to sort it out with legal certainty for all concerned. So I'd certainly prefer that. There's a different discussion about what do we do going forward, because I don't think any of us want to stick with this position forever. And so I think there is an interesting discussion to be had with both the UK government and with governments around the world about whether they are willing to provide financial support to provide some form of public-private partnership in future that can provide affordable insurance for businesses against pandemics going forward.